From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
A principal with a plan.
Trying to keep the mood light.
How a horse helped him bring a few smiles to the first day of school. It's harvest time in the South, but it may be too late to save some fields. And new developments in the effort to bring an end to the long-standing rail labor dispute.
Ultimately what we want to make sure is that rail service is improving. It's not taking a step back.
Why the ag world is watching to see the outcome right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Some positive moves in the effort to avoid a rail strike at harvest time. 3 unions negotiating with the nation's biggest freight railroads have reached a tentative deal. It would provide for pay raises of 24%. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins us with more. Michelle, there is still a lot of work ahead.
That's right, Clinton. Tentative deals have been reached with 3 of the 12 rail unions and large U.S. freight railroads. These unions represent more than 15,000 workers, or only 11% of the 140,000 total. So yes, there is work to do, but this is encouraging progress for the agricultural industry. The 5-year labor contract between the Class 1 railroads and workers includes wage increases and expanded health coverage. Transportation officials say they hope this pressures more of the labor unions to come to an agreement on the Presidential Emergency Board's recommendations. Otherwise, the ag industry could face a strike in mid-September just as harvest ramps up.
So our hope is that moving forward, that will provide some real momentum for some of the other remaining unions to actually come to an agreement as well. Ultimately what we want to make sure is that rail service is improving. It's not taking a step back.
If the remaining workers decide to strike, history indicates it won't take long for Congress to intervene. The last widespread rail strike occurred in the 1990s and only lasted 1 to 2 days. Steenhoek says there's also political motivation with the November elections right around the corner.
That would really provide a lose-lose situation for everyone if they didn't come to an agreement and the workers proceeded with any kind of slowdown or even ultimately a strike. That's in no one's best interest. So I do see a real strong desire by a lot of influential people to try to prevent that from happening.
However, National Grain and Feed Association officials say with the recent rail issues, service won't return overnight.
I think we're still going to have problems, this fall, this winter. It may be a year even before we start to have more normal rail service.
Steenhoek says a congressional precedent has been set, but also by the administration with their recent actions to keep the supply chain moving. As we recently reported, the Presidential Emergency Board was appointed after years of failed labor talks and released recommendations in mid-August. The 9 remaining unions and major carriers have until September 16th to accept or reject that plan.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Shipping by sea on the West Coast is improving following nearly 2 years of delays and backlogs. The Marine Exchange of Southern California says just 8 vessels were in queue at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. That's an all-time low and down from a record of 109 back in January. Now, LA port officials are now asking for ships that diverted around the congestion to return. Harvest is underway in portions of the South, but many growers are being met with flooded fields right now. Take a look at Will Miller's soybean farm in Concordia Parish, Louisiana. This week in Louisiana Agriculture reporting that after 2 weeks of daily, sometimes torrential rains, this is what's left of his fields. Miller had 3,000 acres of soybeans. Many beans have sprouted in the pod and died, leaving behind moldy remains. Now, the worst acres still have water in the field, and for many like Miller, this has been the most expensive crop ever. Miller says there was drought early in the season, causing him to irrigate 8 times, only to have too much water come harvest time. He is now working with state and federal officials to have an emergency declared. At last report, 55% of the state's soybeans were rated good to excellent. That's down 8% from the previous week. Meanwhile, the West Coast is baking in brutal heat with more than 20 major U.S. cities under a heat alert as a prolonged and record-breaking heat dome builds through the holiday weekend. That's on top of the 30 million people already under excessive heat warnings from central California to the southern part of the state. Now, the Seattle area is expected to see temps 10 to 15 degrees higher than normal, and parts of the southwest could exceed 110 degrees. And the problems continue in Mississippi. A state of emergency is now in place in Jackson, as people dealing with flooded streets are now faced with a failing water system. Jackson's mayor saying the flooding of the Pearl River created problems with treating water at the plant. Until the problem's fixed, the state will help distribute water to up to 180,000 people. And it's very important for the South to always keep an eye on weather in the tropics. Meteorologist Matt Yurosavik joins us, and you're tracking a system that could bring even more rain to the area.
That's right, Clinton. We're always keeping our eyes down across the deep south, where we've had a lot of rain lately, but also in the tropics, where things have been pretty quiet lately, but we do have a storm system we're keeping an eye on. We're just keeping an eye on it because it doesn't look like it's going to impact the mainland U.S., but it does look like it could come close enough where it could impact a couple of other fronts across parts of the south and east. Right now, 80% chance of development over the next 5 days in that area shaded right there. And here's a look over about the next 4 days for some rainfall across the south. Notice a lot of it going on in parts of Florida and then back across Texas. But as we go into next week, a couple more fronts stall out across the eastern U.S. and across parts of Texas. Could bring a lot more rain there through next week. That'll keep things a little bit more warm and humid across the deep south and allow cooler air to filter into the Great Lakes and the Northeast. But take a look at this afternoon. Still hot and humid across the middle part of the country. Temperatures in the upper 80s and 90s, triple digits across parts of the Gulf Coast and out in the southwest. A little bit of a break from that heat and humidity in the parts of the Ohio Valley, Northeast, and the upper Midwest as well. So just another pretty nice day across northern portions of some of the U.S. and across parts of the Corn Belt as well. And a little help from the farm equipment with this gender reveal. They loaded up the picker with a little powder and a whole lot of confetti, and then everyone waited for the big reveal. It's a girl. Congratulations to the happy couple, Heather and Chad Hardy, who will soon welcome a baby girl in Halls, Tennessee. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Talk about a traffic nightmare after a big rig crash spilling hundreds of pounds of tomatoes. Now just take a look at the mess on Interstate 80 in the Bay Area. Investigators say the truck hauling more than 150,000 tomatoes crashed into a center divide, spilling its load. That left squished tomatoes all over the road, and several vehicles driving through it slid into one another. There were no major injuries reported, but cleanup crews had to play catch up most of the day. See what we did there? Corn futures falling on Tuesday following a big rally to start the week. We'll dig into markets next. And later, a principal on a mission to make kids smile as they return to school. And it looks like he was pretty successful in the country.
Hi everyone, Tricia Sloma here with AgDay affiliate WNDU TV in South Bend, Indiana. Back in 1991, I was a fresh-faced farm girl looking for a job, and AgDay gave me my break in television. Suited me well with my agricultural communications degree. And that first job in AgDay helped me get my job here at WNDU. So I say thank you to AgDay, but also happy 40th anniversary.
AgDay is brought to you by Endzone from Farm Shop MFG, which allows you to rehydrate your soybeans from 10 to 13%. On a 20,000 bushel bin, that's an extra semi-load added to your bottom line. Order your Endzone fan now and get 13% off while supplies last.
What goes up must come down, and that was the case for corn and wheat on Tuesday after a sharp drop in crude oil futures. Michelle Rook joins us again with this morning's market report.
And joining us with analysis is Cam Beadle with CHS Hedging. We had a higher day in livestock, but a lower day in the greens on Tuesday, and the greens being lower. How much of that was tied to kind of this risk off from outside markets?
Well, I think a significant amount. We had crude oil down quite hard today because of rumors of a possible settlement with the Iranians in terms of the nuclear issue. And of course, if that happens, then we're going to see Iranian barrels on the world market that put pressure on energies. Anytime we put pressure on energy, you're going to put pressure on on corn relative to ethanol, and of course now on soybeans because of biodiesel. And I think that's our initial reaction that we had yesterday in the trade.
So some corrective action too in the corn, not only because maybe we got up into some chart resistance, but a good price for maybe some farmers selling?
Yeah, that 682 area was an old low. We had the 100-day moving average was still above us. And then also because we hadn't traded these prices for a very long time, it was an opportunity to get some new sales on by the U.S. farmer. And I think the growers who do have good crops out there maybe took advantage of that on this rally.
Yeah, and Kent, with price levels where they were, is the market going to need more news, either confirmation of these lower yields from USDA or the combine before it can continue to move higher?
Yeah, well, I think that's true. And I think what we want to see is what the next number is going to be on the USDA report, which is September 12th. And since that's, still nearly 2 weeks away, week and a half anyway, we're likely to chop around in this higher part of the range. Certainly the Pro Farmer Crop Tour is going to keep us from going down a whole heck of a lot. But we're going to want some verification that the yields are as small as some of the privates are now talking about.
So livestock higher, just a technical bounce and holding some support, a reaction to corn being lower?
I think it's mostly a reaction to corn. The feeder cattle obviously, really hated the last couple of days. It really liked it today. I think that allowed for the live cattle market to improve a little bit. Now on the hogs, it's this, huge premium that you still have of the index to the cash. You've got a long time until October expiration. But when you do have that deep of a discount on a day like today with cattle higher, it's pretty easy for the hogs to go up as well.
All right, thanks so much, Kent Beadle, CHS Hedging. We have more Ag Day coming up.
Meteorologist Matt Yurosavik joining us here, starting with a jet stream on Wednesday, and it looks like that ridge building back in out west.
Oh yeah, again, it's going to be hot. It's going to be humid back in parts of the Rockies and parts of the center of the country, and we're not going to have much rain there over the next few days. That'll have to wait until the latter half of next week. And that ridge back in the west is really going to keep things dry and warmer than average for places like Salt Lake City and Denver, all the way up into southern parts of Canada. But notice in the east, we've got some cooler air, a break from that heat and humidity. That's going to continue as we head through the end of the week, but it will get a little bit warmer heading into that Labor Day weekend. Things are still going to be warm pretty much all across the lower 48. But notice where this ridge goes. Doesn't move pretty much very far at all because we've got extremely warm temperatures next week. That's going to keep things dry heading into the second half of Labor Day weekend, but it's going to allow a couple more systems to drop through the east, bringing more unsettled weather, especially across parts of Texas and through parts of the east as well. Take a look at the temperatures, 80s and 90s through the middle of the country as we head through tomorrow and then into tomorrow. We're really going to be looking at very humid conditions across the south. Temperatures getting back into the upper 90s across parts of the Gulf Coast, where we will see some pop-up showers and storms. Still going to be warm across much of the center of the country, but a little bit cooler back here in parts of the west. Still hot in the southwest, 107 in Phoenix, and a little bit cooler parts of the Ohio Valley and up into the interior part of New England there. Take a look at the southwest, though. Extremely hot. San Joaquin Valley down to southern parts of California and parts of Arizona as well. 109 in Yuma, Arizona. Extremely hot there, and that's because high pressure is over the area. A little bit cooler here across parts of Texas, more cloud cover, a little bit more of that shower and thunderstorm chances. Meanwhile, as that front kind of stalls out, keeps things unsettled across the south. High pressure, though, in control of most of the lower 48, and that's going to keep things very, very clear until we get towards the weekend where we could see some more unsettled weather. But most of the precipitation is going to occur from Texas on towards the East Coast and then up into parts of New England as we head through the rest of this week. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Plattsburgh, New York, a chance for showers, a high near 77 degrees. Heading to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, sunny and hot, a high near 92. And Sacramento, California, sunny and hot, a high near 100 degrees.
China is turning down some American pork products. We'll tell you why coming up next. And a North Dakota principal who put a lot of smiles on people's faces on the first day back to school in the country.
AgDay is brought to you by MetLife Investment Management's Agricultural Finance Group. MetLife Investment Management is positioned to help you grow your business with a competitive farm, ranch, and agribusiness loan. To learn more, visit investments.metlife.com/agriculture.
China has stopped the import of pork from a U.S. Tyson plant. The Tyson Foods processor in Logansport, Indiana, is currently ineligible for exports. China's Customs Office says the beef and pork subsidiary had products that failed inspection. Now, the notice was published earlier this week and confirmed by USDA. This follows Beijing's halt on shipments from 2 other plants over the past month. In those cases, China cited the presence of the feed additive ractopamine, which is still banned in China. And a meat packing worker is accused of placing a coin in a meat package that was set to go out to retailers. Now, it happened on Long Island, New York at the Ava Company's plant in Hicksville. Investigators say 38-year-old Karen Palacios Gutierrez faces charges of criminal mischief, tampering, and criminal nuisance. They say she took the coin out of her pocket and put it into a meat package, and the package was set to go out for retail consumption. Now, they say an entire bin of meat products had to be thrown away, causing $400 in losses. At last report, she was being held at the Nassau County Correctional Center. Well, it's back to school this month for most kids. Up next, we'll see how a principal in North Dakota is welcoming his students in a very unique way in the country. We all have our first day of school traditions. For many, it means a back-to-school photo. Well, this year's photos look a little different for students at St. Mary's Academy in Bismarck, North Dakota. And the smiles in those pictures are a little bigger this year. Jody Kurzman with AgDay affiliate KFYR has the story.
Morning, Vandy.
Michael Beekler wants every student to feel welcome.
Morning, Mr. Olson.
At St. Mary's Academy.
Good morning, good morning.
He is the principal here.
Nice haircut, by the way.
Known for his morning greetings.
Good morning.
On this first day of the new school year.
Welcome back.
Mr. Beekler stepped his morning greeting up a notch.
Oh, I'm just, riding a horse.
Mr. Beekler.
Good morning.
Greeted students on horseback.
How you doing?
This is Silver.
He's really gentle.
Silver belongs to 7th grader Macy Mossett.
I ride him in barrels.
But on this day, Macy was happy to let Mr. Beekler
Morning, Vandy.
borrow Silver.
Letting Mr. Beekler have the moment.
A moment
2, 3
that Mr. Beekler hopes might help students saddle up for a great school year.
Trying to keep the mood light.
He's doing that with a friendly smile and a greeting.
Morning, Sammy.
And plenty of dad jokes.
Why the long face?
It's a horse, of course.
There's a lot of things going on in our world that can really kind of get us down. I just thought about a way that I could, bring a big smile to families in the mornings on the first day of school.
A welcome he hopes might help calm those first day jitters.
Laughing always helps, right? So makes you feel better, helps you feel more calm and relaxed.
Hello, hello.
Definitely welcoming school, and to see this, I think it definitely brightens everyone's days.
All right.
Mr. Beekler didn't tell too many people what he was up to. He wanted this to be a surprise.
At first I thought it was like a fake horse, like maybe like a plastic one or something, but then it started moving.
I never know what Mr. Beekler's up to. He always comes with a surprise.
A surprise that on this day
This is great.
prompted parents to snap a few extra first day of school photos.
Good morning.
And a surprise that turned nervous smiles into happy ones.
Good morning.
And made the return to school this year picture perfect.
Have a great day.
In Bismarck,
Morning, Maya.
I'm Jody Kurzman, reporting for your news leader.
All right, thanks, Jody. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day on Farm Country.